Welcome to Spirit Soul Sense, information for your soul. It's also a place for healing and positivity. I am Charisse, and I did another video where I talked about my toxic, abusive relationship with my ex, who I think is a narcissist. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how I left and the steps that I took to leave the relationship for good. So the first thing I want to share with you is a book that literally changed my life. I've gone through a lot of different steps, but I want to start with this book because it completely changed the way that I think about all relationships, about myself. And it's called Women Who Love Too Much by Robin Norwood. Here's her book. I'm going to do another video reviewing this book because it is so vital to me and like who I am as a person right now. But right now, I just want to jump to chapter 2, which is called Road to Recovery, and read the steps that she recommends. So she says, I have never seen a woman who took these steps fail to recover, and I have never seen a woman recovered who failed to take these steps. If it sounds like a guarantee, it is. Women who follow these steps will get well. I was already following the steps before I even knew like what the steps were that she had outlined here, but the way that she explains it helped me maintain being out of the relationship, if that makes sense. Because I wasn't doing everything that she had on the list. I had started, but I didn't have everything. So there are 10 things on the list. Number 1 is go for help. 2 is make your own recovery the first priority in your life. 3 is find a support group of peers who understand. 4 is develop your spiritual side through daily practice. 5 is stop managing and controlling others. 6 is learn to not get hooked into games. 7 is courageously face your own problems and shortcomings. 8 is cultivate whatever needs to be developed in yourself. 9 is become selfish. And 10 is share with others what you have experienced and learned. I'm at 10, which is why I'm doing this video for you now. Because I had shared with other people, but this, for my personality and my soul work, this medium of sharing on YouTube is very important for me and it's part of my healing process. So I'm gonna go over each of the steps that she recommends and tell you like when I did what and how I did what. So the first one was go for help. I started therapy when I was 24. I'm 30 now. I went to see a therapist for the first time when I was 24. She was a white woman in Florida. She practiced psychodynamic therapy. That may make sense to some of you. You can Google it if it doesn't make sense. My primary focus there was healing around trauma that I experienced with my father. So I saw her for a year, maybe, was it a year? I think it was like a year. Wait, my insurance ran out when I was 26. So I must have started seeing her when I was 25. I don't remember seeing her for a year and a half. I think it was like a year. I saw her, did this work on like early childhood, felt like in a really good space, interacting with people more healthy. It was great. My primary focus for doing that was thinking I need to fix myself to be better in my relationship with my ex. Like the motive of it wasn't for myself per se. I thought this would help me strengthen my relationship. Nevertheless, I got all the benefits from working on myself because it was just me in therapy going every week. Then she talks about making recovery a priority for yourself. And so I remember like I looked for couples books to help like strengthen the relationship. And then I reached a point where I was like, you know what? I'm like done trying to do this couple work. And I think, you know, maybe like there's things in myself because I was seeing myself as a more toxic person. I think there's things in myself that I would like to change for me. And so I ended up with a new therapist who I like to say is like me in 10 years. She has like really long locks, she has a nose ring, very, very, very spiritual, really connected to the ancestors. And so that was for me. Like I was drawn to her because she reminded me so much of myself. And like we have similar childhood. I call her my healer, not my therapist, because we also have like a I don't want to say like a dual relationship going on, but we are Black women in a space of healing. And so it's more, there's definitely a hierarchy, like she is the one helping me, but at the same time, it's like it goes both ways. And so I love this relationship that I have with her. And I learned so much about myself. I think this was also at the time when I started thinking outside of romantic relationships and also thinking about, well, what are my friendships like? What are my relationships with my sisters like? What about associates? You know, like a greater community perspective. And so that work became for me. Her third one about developing a support group is actually something that I didn't have until this year. So I have not been the person to always keep like a large friend group. And if I did have like a group of friends more than 3 or 4, there would definitely be like stronger bonds with some girls than others. Friendship, I have an ex-best friend who I received a lot of like validation from, like playing the savior role with, and at the time I just didn't prioritize other friendships. And so even though like I had my sisters, I wasn't sharing with them what I was going through necessarily, and so there was really no support group. This year I am part of a women's wellness program. It's a year-long program that has video meetings monthly. There's a workbook. There are like different groups that you can be a part of to maintain communication. I have a pen pal. I have connected with a woman in Belgium who is like the most lovely person to me, who, you know, has had similar experiences to me when it comes to romantic dating. And so the support group I have now. And I think it's like the piece, it was the piece that was missing from my recovery. The aspect of spirituality in my life has always been there. I've always been very close to God. I have prayed all the time. I meditated. I don't really much meditate now. I would have to be like really stressed to meditate. But being kind is my spiritual practice. Loving myself, being grateful. Like I definitely have rituals that I practice. I, you know, have books that I read. And these things keep me centered, focused on God, on something bigger than myself. So the spiritual part has always been there for me. It wasn't something that I really had to work hard to do. It's something that comes very naturally to me to like be very spiritual. The idea of stop managing and controlling other people took a while for me to learn, because I didn't even know it's what I was doing. I did it most in my romantic relationship, but I did it with everyone. This idea of wanting to maintain control in every part of my life, that things had to be perfect or a certain way, permeated like my complete existence in school, like no matter what I did, this idea of wanting to have control over everything like was steady. And I had to like unlearn that. I think we all have things in life that we'll be working on like for our lifetime. And I think this idea of controlling and managing is something that I have to remind myself to stop doing. It doesn't come naturally to me at this point, like not to try to control something. Like I feel a pull inside that something isn't going the way I want it to go. And then, then I get anxious, frustrated, and then I have to remember to come back. Let it go. I do not have to control everything. Everything does not have to be perfect. And other people have their own agency and can do whatever they want. Nobody has to do exactly what I think they should do or what I expect them to do. Everyone has their own process. And that took me a while to learn. I'm still like perfecting. I say perfecting. There's no perfect. I am still in process. It's a practice. I'm still practicing to become better and better every time. She talks about learning not to get hooked into games, and that's really specifically about romantic relationships and the cycle of abuse or toxicity that people do. Like you do something I don't like, I do something you don't like, we react to each other, there's this big drama, you try to fix it, the other person doesn't want it to be fixed, then it is fixed, and then everything is great and perfect, and then something else happens, and then it's the end of the world again. Like that's like a game. That's like a cycle of unhealthiness that happens in some relationships. And she gives a lot of examples in the book about these games so that you can see is this a game that I'm playing? Because there should not be very high highs and very low lows in relationships. There should definitely be good times, but they should not be markedly amazing, euphoric in a sense, and then so bad and terrible at the other extreme. Relationships should not be about extremes. If they are, it's probably an unhealthy relationship. She talks about courageously facing your problems and shortcomings, and it's being vulnerable with yourself is hard. Being vulnerable with other people is hard. But the courageous thing to do is say, I am going to meet it head on. This is not easy for me. This does not feel comfortable for me, but I am going to do it. I'm going to try. Okay? And she also talks about cultivating whatever needs to be cultivated in your life. Brene Brown talks about how unused creativity doesn't just disappear. It doesn't dissipate. It festers and it turns into jealousy and anger and resentment and contempt. We all have gifts that we were given by God, Spirit, the universe. If you do not use those gifts, you are not going to be a happy and healthy person because you're like stunting your own growth and development. This YouTube channel is one of the things I've been talking about for a while. I needed to create it. There are things in my life that I needed to cultivate. Art, YouTube, friendships. There's so many areas in my life that I was neglecting because of prioritizing my relationship. There's space in your life for all the things that you love and enjoy, for all the creative experiences that you have. If you're one of those people who says, I want to travel the world, I want to see X amount of countries, and you are still at home and haven't gone on a vacation, you are going to like eat away at yourself. There's so many different examples about things in your life that you need to cultivate. You know what it is that you need to cultivate in your life. And so I have been on this journey of like self-exploration, figuring out what is it that I really want to do with my life? How do I want it to look? And what steps do I need to take to get there? It's been like a life-changing experience for me. I feel like I joyously experience life now, and so many different things make me feel good about life outside of a romantic relationship. It's like so beautiful. She also talks about the idea of becoming selfish with yourself. I think I have definitely been one of the people who prioritize other people before me. If I have $100 and I need $100 to pay something, but you need $100, I'm probably giving you the $100. That is not a healthy thing to do. You cannot give from an empty cup. Do you understand? Like, you have to put yourself first. You have to prioritize yourself and your needs and your happiness above other people. It doesn't mean that you want harm to come to other people. It just means that you know that in order to best serve people, in order to be your best self and be kind to people, you have to be, in a sense, selfish with your time, with your resources, with your energy. You can't just keep giving and giving and giving to people. And so that's something I have had to practice because I am a giver and I love helping other people. But there comes a point where if helping and giving to other people is at the detriment to your own self, gotta learn to be selfish. And so about the last one I shared already, that it's important to share their experiences. Everyone does not need a YouTube channel or a podcast or a TV show in order to share their experiences. I have done so with women in my life, mostly women who I trust, who value me, and who telling the story is going to be like impactful for me, and I'm part of my healing process. It can be done like very small. It can be done just in your family. It can be done just with friends. You can do it at a workshop if you want. There's a lot of different ways to share the story. You can write it in a blog. The point is that it's important to speak it, to share it, for other people to know that this thing exists and happened to you, so that this part no longer has, any power over your life. So those are like the major things that I did. I did therapy. I read a ton of self-help books. A lot of them were spiritual in nature because that's like my primary focus. Also in the support, I went to an anonymous meeting. She says you should go to 6 before you stop going. But I didn't want to go to another one. And I know I need to find like another one in another area. I'm probably still going to look for another one. But at the moment, it's not something I'm doing. But that's another way to incorporate support in your life. I think I got good about sharing with my family what was going on and how unhappy I was. And then joining this wellness group has been like really, really a positive experience for me. There's no specific order to the steps. So, I talked about like not doing things in order or, doing one thing a long time before. There's no specific step. The point is that you gotta do all of them if you want to maintain your recovery and not falling back into the same patterns. And you may do most of those things and still go back. You may do a couple of those things and leave. Like it's really a personal process that you go through. And so it's been years of doing these things for me. I was with my ex on and off for 5 years. And so I left multiple times during that. And so I finally came to this space of, you, sir, would like me to be something that I'm not. I'm not interested in changing who I am for you. And like, this is the final thing, right? I had already been through so much verbal abuse that had decreased over time. But the last thing was I knew that I was a good person. I knew that I deserved better. And so I took that leap of faith to like end things officially. You may end things officially. I've ended things officially before, but it's all a process. And I am in this space where I love sharing with you. I hope you found this video to be helpful. And if you are in a toxic or abusive relationship, what I want to tell you is put less pressure on figuring out if you want to leave or not, and put all your attention on how you can continue to grow and be the best version of you. Because like Robin Norwood says, either the relationship will change or it will end when you focus on you. Thank you for watching.